I never thought a single act of kindness would unravel the lie I'd been living for 2 years. That rainy afternoon in the Mission District, I spotted the kid first, 5 years old, tops, wandering alone past the Decarius, his Spider-Man backpack dragging in a puddle like it weighed a ton. His eyes locked on mine, wide and terrified. And before I could second-guess it, I knelt down, my knees soaking through my thrift store jeans. "Hey, buddy, you lost," he nodded, tears mixing with the drizzle on his cheeks. That's when I knew I'd help him find her, no matter what. But when his mom rushed up, hysterical and grateful, the folded scrap of paper she pressed into my palm changed everything. It wasn't thanks. It was a confession. "You are my skin like a trophy. I stole yours to survive him. The boy is ours. End Victor. Or we both burn." My hand shook so hard I nearly dropped it, the ink blurring under my thumb. In that moment, staring at my own face, my real face, smiling back at me through her eyes, I realized the revenge I'd buried deep was clawing its way out, and it would devour us all. The note burned a hole in my pocket all the way back to my cramped studio in the Tenderloin, where the walls were thin enough to hear the neighbors' arguments bleed into my dreams. I was Lucia Hale, or at least, that's the name on the faded ID in my wallet. The one with a photo of a stranger's tired eyes staring back. 2 years ago, I woke up in this body, shorter, softer around the edges, with calluses on hands that had never typed a line of code in their life. The real Lucia, the one who'd built empires in boardrooms,
was gone. Poof.
Swapped out like a faulty hard drive. Doctors called it a fugue state after the crash, my Tesla flipping on Highway 101, Victor's hands on the wheel, his voice in my ear promising forever. But I knew better. It was him. Victor Kane, the golden boy of Silicon Valley. The man who'd whispered sweet nothings while wiring my brain to his neural net prototype. For us, he'd said, that night in his Atherton mansion, champagne flutes clinking as the prototype helmet hummed to life. Immortality.
Luce.
We'll never lose each other.
Lies.
All of it. The crash wasn't an accident, it was erasure. I remembered fragments. The lab in his basement, the cold gel pads on my temples, the way his eyes gleamed, not with love, but calculation. He'd been skimming funds from Neuralink, his darling startup, funneling millions into black market experiments to cheat death, or worse, to cheat justice. I discovered the ledgers 6 months before the accident. Embezzlement on a scale that could have tanked the company. Sent him to federal prison. But Victor was clever. Too clever. He needed a fall guy. Someone close enough to the fire to burn for him.
Me.
His fiancée. The CFO who'd signed off on every quarter. I'd taken the hit in the press releases, the SEC probes, the whispers at tech conferences. Lucia Hale. The greedy bitch who cooked the books. My name was mud before the crash even happened. And then, blackness. When I woke in this shell, Elena Vasquez's shell, a barista from Oakland who'd OD'd on fentanyl the week prior, I pieced it together slow, like a glitchy algorithm spitting out errors. Victor hadn't just framed me. He'd replaced me. Put her consciousness, whatever scraps were left, into my body, and dumped mine into hers. Clean slate. New life for him, with me by his side, playing the grieving widow. The boy changed everything. Little Mateo, with his mop of dark curls and that dimple in his left cheek, my cheek, from the ultrasound photos I'd framed on our mantel. Victor and I had tried for years, IVF rounds that drained our savings, his promises that we'd beat the odds. When the pregnancy stuck, it was our miracle. But the notes in my new apartment, Elena's apartment, told a different story. Scribbles from a life I didn't live. Rent due. Mateo needs formula. Victor call back? He'd been seeing her on the side. The single mom scraping by on tips and temp gigs. Elena, with her easy laugh and no pedigree to complicate things. A perfect vessel. When she overdosed, fentanyl-laced coke from one of Victor's networking parties, he saw opportunity. Slipped her into the prototype. Synced her fading spark to my chassis while my car spun out on the fog-slicked freeway. Collateral. That's what I was now. A ghost in a dead woman's skin, haunting the edges of a life that wasn't mine. I unfolded the note again under the flicker of my desk lamp, the single bulb swinging like a noose. The boy is ours.
God.
It hit like a gut punch. Mateo wasn't Victor's side project, he was mine. Conceived in stolen moments. Hidden from me because Victor feared I'd bolt when the books didn't balance. Elena had carried him, raised him in shadows, while us, bled out in a hospital bed, my real body walking free, with her soul puppeteering it. The betrayals sank deeper than the swap, a knife twist in the ribs. Victor hadn't just stolen my face, he'd stolen my child. And now, with this note, Elena me, the real me in there somewhere was reaching out. Begging. End Victor. Or we both burn. I paced the peeling linoleum, the rain pattering against the fire escape like impatient fingers. Revenge wasn't a plan, it was a reflex, primal as the sob clawing at my throat. But how? Victor Kane was untouchable, Forbes 30 under 30, TED Talk darling, with lobbyists in D.C. and a boardroom full of yes-men. His Neuralink knockoff was revolutionizing therapy for trauma victims, ironic, given what he'd done to me. I'd spent 2 years piecing together scraps, burner phones from Elena's drawer, forum dives into dark web whispers about consciousness transfers, anonymous tips to reporters that went nowhere. They called me paranoid, a conspiracy nut in a barista's apron. But this was proof. Tangible. Dangerous. That night, I didn't sleep. I Googled Mateo's name, pulled from the backpack tag, and found her. Elena Vasquez. Listed as deceased in a quiet coroner's report. Body unclaimed. But the woman I'd handed him to? Same face. Now Lucia Hale, posting sponsored reels from Victor's Malibu retreat, yoga poses at dawn, captions about healing after loss. My stomach roiled. She was living it, my penthouse views, my designer closets, my life. And Mateo, the poor kid, calling her mommy while she wore my wedding band like a crown.
By dawn,
I'd made my first controversial call. Not to the cops, they'd laugh. Or worse, commit me. No. To Jax. My old college hookup turned freelance hacker. The kind of guy who lived off-grid in a van down by the Presidio. Lucia?
Shit. Girl.
You vanished after the crash. I fed him the line I'd rehearsed. Elena's ghost haunting me, needing dirt on Victor. He didn't buy it, but the crypto I'd Venmo'd him did. Gimme 48 hours, he grunted. But if this is some domestic beef, I'm out. It wasn't beef. It was war. As the coffee brewed, Elena's ancient mister. Coffee sputtering like it resented me, I stared at the note again. End Victor. Easy to say when you're sipping mimosas in my body. But I was the one with nothing. No resources. No allies. Just a dead woman's debts and a fire in my gut that burned hotter than fear. I folded it away, slipped on my hoodie, and headed out into the gray morning. Step 1. Get close. Infiltrate the beast from the inside. Victor's next gala was in a week, Neuralink's Mind Over Matter fundraiser at the Fairmont. Black tie. A-listers. The works. Elena, I would be there. Arm candy on his elbow. And me, I'd crash it as the help. Waitstaff gigs were easy to snag on Craigslist. Controversial? Hell yes. Risky as walking a tightrope over traffic. But the alternative? Letting him win. Letting him raise my son with her ghost whispering lies in my ear. The days blurred into a frenzy. Jax pinged me encrypted drops, server logs from Victor's lab, timestamps matching the crash, emails to shell companies laundering the embezzled cash, and photos, grainy shots of Elena at those parties, glassy-eyed and desperate, Victor's hand possessive on her waist. She was leverage, Jax messaged. He dangled the kid to keep her quiet. My fists clenched around my phone until the screen cracked. Leverage. That's all we were to him. Assets to shuffle. Liabilities to bury. By the time the gala night rolled around, I was a live wire, buzzing under my skin. The Fairmont's ballroom glittered like fool's gold, chandeliers dripping crystal. Waiters in crisp whites gliding with trays of caviar blinis. I blended in, tray balanced, eyes scanning for them. There they were. Across the room, Victor, tall and predatory in his Tom Ford tux, silver threading his temples like wisdom he didn't earn. And beside him,
Me.
my old body, elegant in emerald silk, laughing at some venture capitalist's joke. Mateo's dimple flashed when she smiled, our dimple. It took everything not to charge, to smash the flute in her hand and demand my life back. But I waited. Circled. Overheard snippets, the prototypes ready for trials, Victor murmured to a cluster of suits. Revolutionary. No more losing loved ones to accidents. Bullshit. It was a weapon, a way to play God with souls. Then, our eyes met. Hers, mine, widened, just a flicker, before she excused herself, weaving toward the powder room. Heart slamming, I followed, dumping my tray on a sideboard. The hallway was mercifully empty, marble echoing my heels. She cornered me by the velvet ropes, breath hitching. You got the note. It wasn't a question. Up close. The face was a funhouse mirror, same hazel eyes, but haunted, lines etching where confidence used to be. Elena, I whispered.
Testing.
She flinched.
No. Yes. God.
It's me, Lucia. The real one. Her voice cracked, the polished accent slipping into something raw. East Coast edge I'd lost in the swap.
He
did this to us. To hide it all. The money. The crash. I woke up screaming in your skin, and he told me it was a gift. A second chance. Tears welled, smudging her mascara. But Mateo, he's yours.
Ours.
Victor lied about everything. He dosed me that night, made me drive while he synced the helmets. Said it'd fix us, but it was to silence you. Forever. Rage boiled over. Hot and black. Then why live it? Why parade around as me? My whisper was venom. Survival, she hissed. For the boy. If I bolted, he'd take him. Or worse. She grabbed my wrist, her wrist, soft from spa treatments I'd paid for. We end him together. The lab codes, I have access. Tonight. It was madness. Teeming with the thief in my body, but her eyes held no deceit, just the same fractured fire mirroring mine. Controversial didn't cover it. This was suicide. Two halves of a broken soul plotting in a gilded cage. But as Victor's laugh boomed from the ballroom, toasting his empire, I nodded.
How?
She slipped a key card into my palm. Service elevator. Sublevel 3. The prototype's there. Overload it, fry the servers. He'll crash with it. Her gaze flicked to my belly, where Elena's faint scars from childbirth lingered. And the boy. After. We fix this. For him. We parted like thieves, her gliding back to Victor's side, me melting into the shadows. The elevator hummed down, stomach-lurching descent into the underbelly of the Fairmont's rented space. Sublevel 3, sterile white walls, humming servers like a hive mind. The prototype helmet sat on a pedestal, innocuous as a museum piece, wires snaking to banks of black boxes. I jimmied the panel with a butter knife from my apron, Jax's remote hack kicking in, lights flickering. Heart pounding, I yanked cords, sparks flying like angry fireflies. Alarms wailed, distant shouts echoing up the shaft. I bolted, lungs burning, bursting into the alley behind the hotel. Sirens wailed in the distance, cops, fire. Victor's security scrambling. My phone buzzed, Elena.
Done.
He's exposed. Ledgers uploaded to WikiLeaks. Meet at the bridge. The Golden Gate. Midnight. Fitting city's suicide span, where dreams went to die. But as I stole a cab across town, doubt gnawed. Was this revenge? Or just trading one cage for another? Victor would slither free. Men like him always did. And Mateo, God, the kid. Would he even know me in this skin? The note had trembled my hands.
But now?
They itched for more. For blood. Maybe. The dark part of me, the part Victor had awakened, whispered it wasn't enough to burn his kingdom. I needed to watch him fall. The fog rolled in thick off the bay as I reached the Golden Gate's south vista. The iconic red arches looming like a rusted guillotine against the sodium haze. Midnight struck, the hour hand ticking like a bomb in my skull. I ditched the uniform for Elena's spare jeans and hoodie from a duffel in the van Jax had loaned me, loose fit on this frame. But better than polyester for running. The WikiLeaks drop was viral already. My burner buzzed with alerts. Neuralink CEO Victor Kane implicated in embezzlement scandal, prototype tied to fatal crash. Headlines screamed betrayal. Stock plunging like a stone. Good. Let the wolves circle. But it wasn't enough. Not for what he'd stolen. Not just money.
But me.
My reflection. My legacy. My son. Headlights pierced the mist, a black SUV. Sleek as sin. Pulling to the shoulder. Elena stepped out. Mateo clutched to her hip, the boy rubbing sleep from his eyes. Mommy cold, he mumbled, burrowing into her, my coat. Seeing him up close hit like vertigo, the curve of his lashes, the way his tiny fist gripped her collar. Mine.
Ours.
A secret Victor had buried deeper than the crash report. Get in, she urged, voice low.
Urgent.
The SUV smelled of leather and baby shampoo. A far cry from my rust bucket Civic. We peeled out, tires humming over the bridge toward Sausalito. Her knuckles white on the wheel. "The ledgers were the tip," she said, eyes flicking to the rear view. "But the swap logs, everything's there. Timestamps, neural maps. Proof he murdered us both." Murder. The word hung heavy, controversial as hell. Legally, it was assault. Maybe manslaughter, if the feds bought the sci-fi angle. Morally, it was annihilation. Erasing a soul to save your ass, that's the American dream twisted into a nightmare. Valley Edition. I twisted in the seat, facing her, facing myself. And the boy? How long did he keep that from me?
Us.
Her jaw tightened, that familiar tick when Victor pushed too hard. From the start. Elena me, in there, told him early on. He paid her off, kept her close for tests. Leverage. Like I said. She glanced at Mateo, now dozing against my shoulder, his breath warm on my neck. When the overdose hit, he saw the swap as poetic. Put her in you. You and her. Clean the slate. Keep the kid as collateral. But I woke up knowing. Fought him every step. That's why the note threw a drop at the coffee shop you worked. Risky. But it worked. I stroked Mateo's hair, the curls springing back like they remembered. A sob threatened, but I swallowed it. Weakness was a luxury we couldn't afford. What's the play now? Feds? Asylum. She laughed, bitter and sharp. Victor owns half the regulators.
No.
We hit him where it hurts. Personal. The SUV veered off 101 into the Marin headlands, gravel crunching under tires as we bumped toward an abandoned ranger station Jax had flagged, off-grid, shielded from signals. Inside, it was dust and decay, cots sagging under tarps, a propane lantern casting long shadows. We settled Mateo on a blanket, his snores the only soft thing in the room. Over lukewarm ramen from her go-bag, the full story spilled. Elena Vasquez, 28, undocumented from Oaxaca, chasing the dream in Oakland's underbelly. Victor spotted her at a dive bar mixer, his type, exotic and expendable. Hooked her with promises of green cards, tech gigs. When she got pregnant, he panicked. No room for extras, he'd snarled. But she held firm, used it to squeeze more rent money, threats to go public. That's when the parties amped up, coke flowing like innovation. Fentanyl whispers in the punch. She OD'd intentional? Accidental? He pushed it, Elena me said flatly. Wanted her quiet before the SEC sniffed closer. The swap was the masterstroke. Victor's prototype wasn't therapy, it was a vault for consciousness, a way to upload execs before the Reaper called. Black budget DARPA ties. Rumors of military apps, mind control for drones, eternal soldiers. I'd greenlit the funding blind, trusting him. Betrayals bitter pill. He tested it on strays first, homeless vets. Junkies no one missed. Elena was number 7. I was the anchor, the stable transfer to prove viability. The crash synced us mid-spin, her spark leaping to my neurons, mine tumbling into void, latching to her cooling husk in the morgue. Victor pulled strings, coroners mix up, my body miraculously revived. Elena's? Cremated unclaimed, a Jane Doe formality. I paced the creaky floorboards, lantern light dancing like ghosts. The crime I took the fall for embezzlement. It was his. But the feds needed a face. Mine. Deep betrayal.
Check.
I'd borne it all. Ruined rep. Frozen assets. The crash as suicide attempt in tabloids. Desperate exec snaps under pressure. While he mourned publicly, bedded my shell privately. We exposed the prototype, she said, pulling a laptop from the dash. Jax has backdoors. Livestream the lab footage, transfers in action. Tie it to the boy, custody docs proving parentage. Victor's done. Controversial? Understatement. Hacking a mogul. Kidnapping your own kid, technically. Weaponizing a toddler's DNA for takedown. But the dark thrill hummed in my veins, Elena's veins. Resilient as rebar. We decided over the ramen. Dawn raid on the Atherton estate. Victor would be scrambling. Hold up with lawyers. But the lab was lightly guarded post-gala. Slip in. Grab the drives.
Torch the rest.
Sleep evaded me. Mateo's weight at anchor on the cot. In the witching hours, memories bled. Not mine. Elena's. Flashes of labor pains in a free clinic. Victor's check bouncing. Nights rocking the colic alone while he jetted to Davos. Her life. Seeping into this body like osmosis. I hated it. Hated her for complicating my revenge. But as his tiny hand curled around my finger, forgiveness cracked open. He was the secret buried deepest. The mistake Victor thought he'd erased. Dawn broke bloody, painting the headlands in crimson. We geared up. Black ops from Jax's stash, masks, zip ties. A Glock that felt foreign in my grip. You sure? She asked, holstering her own piece, my old Beretta, from the nightstand drawer. No, I admitted. But neither are you. The drive back was suicide quiet. 280 emptying as commuters stirred. Victor's gates loomed, wrought iron. Cameras winking like eyes. Elena swiped us in with the keycard, the Bentley purring up the drive like it remembered. The mansion was a tomb, lights dim. Staff dismissed in crisis mode. We split, her to the nursery for Mateo, redundant, but cover. Me to the basement lab. The door hissed open, sterile air kissing my skin. Server's word, the helmet mocking from its case. I jacked in Jax's drive. Upload initiating, terabytes of horror, transfer vids. Subjects writhing in agony. Victor's voiceover clinical as a serial killer's. Subject viable. Anchor stable. My anchor. Rage surged. I smashed the helmet with the butt of the Glock. Glass shattering like brittle bones. Sparks flew. Smoke curling acrid. Then, footsteps. Heavy. Victor's voice. Silk over steel. Loose? That you? Honey. He stepped into the light. Disheveled but composed, shirt untucked. Eyes sharp as scalpels. No guards. He'd sent them packing, expecting Elena's loyalty. Knew you'd crack. The note was sloppy. My grip tightened. Barrel rising. It's me, Vic. The real one. Elena's wearing my face upstairs. He chuckled. Low and knowing. Cute. But you're Elena. Always were. The junkie whore who thought she could play house. He stepped closer. Hands open, disarming. The bastard. The swap? Mercy. You were dying anyway, overdose frying your synapses. I saved you. Gave you a better life. Lies slithered out. His web tightening. Lucia knew the books. She was in it, my partner in the skim. SSC closing in. She panicked. The crash? Her idea. To fake it all. I pulled you in as a Hail Mary. Synced your spark to her shell. Clean break. His eyes bored in.
Pitying.
You're grieving a ghost. Elena. Let it go. For the boy. Doubt wormed. Elena's flashes. The parties. The desperation. Had I been blind?
No.
The ledgers Jax pulled were his handwriting. But the gun wavered. Just a fraction. Upstairs. A scream, Elena's. Gunfire popped. Sharp as firecrackers. Victor lunged. I fired wild, clipping his shoulder.
He roared.
Tackling me into the server rack, cord snapping, alarms blaring. We grappled. His blood slick on my hands. My, Elena's, nails raking his face. You think you're her? He snarled. Knee in my gut. You're nothing. A vessel. I need up. Hard. Rolling free. Grabbed a loose cable. Whipped it round his throat. Improvised garrote. Controversial as choking the American dream itself. He gurgled. Eyes bulging. For Mateo, I hissed. For us. Sirens wailed distant, cops inbound. Elena burst in, Mateo wailing in her arms. Her face, mine, smeared with soot. Drives uploaded. Go. We fled. Victor's body twitching amid the smoke. Ugliest decision yet. Leave him alive? Mercy? Or mistake? As we piled into the SUV, tires screaming toward the highway, I glanced back. The mansion burned, a pyre for secrets. But his words lingered, a poison twist. Was I Lucia? Or just Elena's echo? Haunting the wrong life. The safe house in Big Sur was a ramshackle cabin off Highway 1. The kind tourists romanticized on Instagram, but locals knew as a black hole for signals and sanity. Waves crashed below like Judgment Day. Relentless. While Mateo built sandcastles on the porch, oblivious to the storm we'd unleashed. WikiLeaks had detonated. Front-page Times. CNN panels dissecting the Kane consciousness conspiracy. Victor was in custody, shoulder wound infected. Lab a smoldering crime scene. Feds swarmed Atherton, subpoenaing everything. Public opinion split. Hero whistleblower or deranged lover spat. Elena and I watched from burner laptops, trading shifts on kid duty. Our reflections a constant duel in the salt-streaked windows. You did good, she said one night, passing me a beer from the cooler. Fire pit crackling. Stars indifferent overhead. Mateo snored inside, thumb in mouth. Twist of the knife, leaving him breathing. I clinked bottles. The condensation cold as truth. Mercy. Or cowardice. His words from the lab haunted. You're Elena. She was in it. I'd combed the uploads, ledgers. Yes. His scrawl. But footnotes, my initials on dummy core. Approvals I'd signed half asleep after his late nights. Complicity? Blurry line between trust and treason. The betrayal cut bidirectional now. Had I ignored red flags for the ring? The merger? The myth of us? She leaned back. My old posture, shoulders squared. Chin defiant. Doesn't matter. He's done. Trials start next month. Manslaughter. Fraud. Human trafficking if they class the swaps. Human trafficking. The term stuck. Ugly and apt. Those subjects, vets, addicts, Elenas of the world, pawns in his god complex. We'd freed the living ones. Anonymous alerts to families. Controversial closure. Vigilante justice. No due process. but in America's underbelly, where the powerful dined on the poor. Who else would? Mateo toddled out then, rubbing eyes. Mama? He split the word between us, gaze bouncing. Heartbreaker. We froze, beers midway to lips. Both, I said soft, scooping him up. Elena's hand joined mine on his back. Two mothers. One fracture hole. That night, we talked reversal. Reverse the swap. Jax had theories. Dark web docs on neural decoupling. Risky, 50-50 brain fry. But for him, we'd roll the dice. Days bled into routine. Beach walks. PBS Kids on the ancient TV. Elena teaching me her recipes. Posel simmering with secrets. Her stories filled gaps. Victor's charm offensive. The pregnancy terror. Nights Googling abortion clinics Oakland while he ghosted. He called you the Ice Queen, she said over chopping onions. Tears real or ruse. Said you froze him out. That's why the side piece.
Me?
The villain in her narrative. I countered with mine. Boardroom battles where he'd undermine, then console with wine and whispers. You were the thaw, I admitted. The one who made him human. Laughter edged hysterical, two women seduced by the same serpent, scales glinting different in each light. Tension simmered. You am under the California sun. Controversial decisions piled. We doxed his enablers, VCs who'd funded knowing the rot. Backlash hit, trolls dooming us crazy bitches, death threats pinging burners. One night, a black Escalade idled at the trailhead, Kane loyalists. We barricaded. Glock under pillows. Mateo between us like a shield. This life's the revenge, Elena murmured in the dark. Living free. Him in chains. But freedom chafed. I caught her staring at mirrors, tracing her jawline. Miss it? I asked once. Blunt. Parts, she confessed. The power. The ease. Envy flickered. Mutual. She had my polish. I had her grit. Elena's body moved different, looser hips from birth. Scars like badges. But it remembered streets. Survival sans safety nets. Lucia's? Boardrooms and betrayals. Armored in Louboutins. The twist brewed slow. A storm front rolling in. Jax called midweek. Voice tinny over sat phone. Digging deeper. Found emails, pre-crash. Lucia. You greenlit the test subjects. Knew about the strays. My beer slipped. Fizzing on the deck.
What?
Approvals. Your SIG. Victor pitched it as volunteers. But manifests?
Coerced.
You okayed the fentanyl lacing to induce compliance. Static crackled. Twist.
Luce.
You were in deeper than him.
No.
Bullshit. But doubt flooded. Title. Flashes. Late night briefs. His hand on my thigh under the table.
For the company. For us.
Had I signed away souls for stock options? The hidden secret unburied, not just his crime, but mine. Born by Elena, the vessel who paid with her spark. I confronted her that dusk. Waves thundering accusation. Did you know? Mateo played nearby. Oblivious. Her face, mine, crumpled. Suspected. When I woke in you, the files were open. Lab notes. Your emails. Thought it was him forging. Tears tracked salt. But yeah. Maybe you both. Rage imploded. Not at Victor. But us. The betrayal looped infinite. I doomed her to die for my ambition. She'd worn my skin, raised my child in shadows. We're the same poison, I spat. Controversial epiphany. Revenge a mirror? Reflecting monsters. We argued till stars wheeled, voices raw over the roar. Mateo wailed, caught in crossfire. Finally, truce, the reverse swap. Risk it all, or live halved.
Dawn.
We drove to Jax's Van Lair in Monterey, hacked gear, bootleg helmet humming ominous. Mateo farmed out to a trusted neighbor. Some ex-cop Jax vouched. Strapped in, gels cold on temples. Elena across the rig. For him, we echoed. Jax counted down. Currents surging, fire in veins. Memories colliding. Hers. Border crossings. Factory shifts. Mine mergers. Martinis. Victor's laugh echoed both. A shared haunt. Blackness swallowed. Woke to pain. Jax's face swimming. Both stable. But he trailed, handing a mirror. My face, Lucia's, stared back. Unscarred. Unfamiliar. Elena gasped opposite. In her old shell. Hands fluttering to her throat.
It worked.
But the twist? In the merge. Truths fused. I had known. Signed off. Blind to the bodies. Victor's patsy. Yes, but complicit. Elena, too. Her tests included ratting on rivals for scraps. We'd both fed the beast. Victor? His trial loomed, but leaks now painted us as co-conspirators. Feds circling. Controversial climax. Testify against him. Or vanish. Burn it all. Or rebuild from ash. The Monterey motel reeked of mildew and regret. Neon vacancy, buzzing like a migraine through the thin curtains. Jax had bolted post-swap. Van vanishing into the coastal fog, smart man, leaving us to the fallout. Elena, back in her body. Frail but fierce, curled on the sagging bed. Mateo nestled against her. Thumb-sucking sentinel. I paced the shag carpet. My old frame feeling alien. Taller. Tauter. But heavier with the weight of reclaimed sins. The mirror lied. This face was mine. But the eyes? Haunted hybrids. Flecked with her grit. My guilt. News alerts chimed relentless. Kane trial bombshell. Fiancé implicated in cover-up. Photos of me. Pre-swap Lucia. Flashed. Boardroom shots where I'd smiled for cameras. Signing away ethics. Victor's lawyers spun gold. Joint venture gone wrong. Hale's ambition fueled the fire. Public devoured it. Valley villains trending. Memes crucifying us as the wicked witches of the West. Elena scrolled. Face ashen. They'll come. Feds. Or his goons. Let them. My voice. Lucia's timbre, crisp. Commanding, rallied. But inside, Tremble. The revenge arc bent toward tragedy. We torched his empire. But ours crumbled in the blaze. The boy, our boy, stirred, murmuring mama into her neck. He didn't know yet the swap's mercy or curse in his eyes. She was mom, curves and comfort. I was the stranger with her smile, looming awkward. We decided in the cabin's wreckage. Testify. Controversial to the core, air our laundry national. Invite the cage. But silence? That was Victor's game. Letting lies metastasize. Truth's the only weapon left, Elena said. Packing our meager duffel. Onesies. Burner. The Glock now holstered at my hip. Felt right, American as apple pie and concealed carry, Dark twist on justice. The drive east was purgatory. 101 snaking through Big Sur's cliffs like a noose tightening. Mateo babbled from his car seat, pointing at seals sunning on rocks. Look, Mama. Elephants. Elena laughed. The sound rusty, her laugh. Not mine, and my chest ached. Betrayal's final air. I'd stolen more than Victor. In the swap, I'd borrowed her motherhood. Felt his kicks phantom in my belly now. You'll tell him, she said soft. Hand on mine over the gear shift. Someday. When he's big. Feds nabbed us at the state line. Near Paso Robles, unmarked Tahoe boxing us in. Lights flashing accusatory. Agents in windbreakers. Badges glinting. Lucia Hale? Elena Vasquez? Step out. Hands visible. Mateo wailed as they cuffed us. Zip ties biting. It's okay. Mijo, she soothed. Voice steady. Mine cracked. Tell Victor we're coming. Holding cells in Fresno fed the tension. Concrete echo chamber. Fluorescent hum drilling skulls. Interrogations tag-teamed. Shrinks probing delusions. Prosecutors flashing emails, my sig. Her fingerprints on dummy docs. You built this together. The lead fed snarled. Ex-Marine build. Eyes like flints. Kane's the fall guy now. Lies inverted. Truth reversed. We'd framed him?
No.
The ledgers proved his hand, but our complicity muddied waters. Controversial decisions peaked. Plea out or fight. Rat on each other for leniency? Elena cracked first. In a mirrored room that smelled of stale coffee. It was survival, she told them. Voice echoing my old poise. Victor orchestrated. We were pawns. They leaned in, I listened from the next booth. Heart hammering. When my turn came, I echoed. He swapped us to bury the embezzlement. I bore the blame, crash. Probes, all to shield him. But the twist nod. We bore it too. My approvals. Her silence for scraps. The crime? Shared sin. Borne by the boy now in foster limbo. Trial opened in San Jose federal court. Circus under vaulted ceilings. Cameras flashing. Protesters chanting, justice for the swapped. Victor center ring. Gaunt in orange jumpsuit. Eyes locking mine across the docket. No remorse, just calculation. Mouthing you first as we passed. Elena testified day 2. Her small frame swallowed by the witness box. He dosed me. Stole my body. My life. Jury leaned. But cross-exam gutted. You took payments? Penis. Vasquez. Blackmail? She faltered. And I saw the fracture. Our shared dark.
Exposed.
My turn was the climax. Stand. Voice steady. Unravel the web. Betrayal started with love. I began. Facing the 12 housewives. Techies. A vet with haunted eyes. Victor promised forever. Delivered oblivion. I detailed the lab. The crash. The swap's horror. Neural fire. Waking to wrong hands. Gasps rippled. Sketches circulated. My face, familiar from scandals, now victim. But the prosecution pivoted. MS. Hale. Your emails authorized the volunteers. Coercion included. Silence stretched. Courtroom breath held. Controversial precipice. Lie. Or shatter. I signed. I admitted. Voice breaking. Blind. Trusted him. But the fentanyl? His order. I learned too late. Tears fell, real.
Raw.
We all bore mistakes. Elena's life for my ambition. Mateo's childhood for our silence. Victor's the architect. But we're the mortar. Victor lunged then. Chains rattling. Liar. She knew. Planned it. Guards wrestling him down. The chaos. Gavels banging. Jury sequestered. Backstage. Elena gripped my arm. Bruises from cuffs blooming purple. You freed us, she whispered. Even if it cages him. Verdict dropped after 3 days deliberation. Guilty on all. Fraud. Manslaughter. Conspiracy. Life. No parole. Victor's empire crumbled. Neuralink seized. Patents voided. Cheers erupted outside. But victory soured. Elena and I. Reduced charges. Accessory. Probation. The truth reversed. Not monsters. But mirrors of his madness. Debatable ending, justice. Or enablers escaped. We got Mateo back in a supervised park. Autumn leaves swirling like confetti. He ran to her first curves. Comfort then hesitated.
Peering at me.
Auntie Lou. Close enough. I knelt. Dimple matching his. Something like that.
Buddy.
Months later. In a Reno suburb, witness protection light, we rebuilt. Elena waitress days. I consulted ethics for startups, ironies bite. Nights. We traded stories by the fire pit. Mateo between. Building forts from truths half told. The note, framed on the mantle. Hands no longer trembling. Revenge? It devoured Victor. Scarred us. But birthed something uglier. Forgiveness. For him. Maybe. For us? Work in progress. Was it happy? Tragic? You decide. In America's fractured glow, where dreams swap bodies like cheap thrills, we walked the gray. Free. Finally. But whose skin? That's the hook that never lets go.